Tonight, joining me now, two great members of Congress, Claudia Tenney of New York and Beth Van Duyne of Texas. Ladies, you're very kind to come on. We are honored and we appreciate it. Beth, I'll start with you with the commitment to America. Do I have this about right? I mean, it looks to me like let's get the inflation rate down and let's get the crime rate down. There's lots more here, but those seem to be the headliners. What you thinking?
Yeah, what we've all done is we've gone back to our districts and we've listened to what our constituents are telling us is most troubling to them, what they're having to deal with right now, the issues that they want us to address in D.C. And the issues that they want us to address is inflation, rising gas prices, what's happening at the pump. They're looking at what's happening at their grocery stores. They're looking at their paychecks and recognizing that from the time that Biden became president, that they have literally lost 1 month of their income due to inflationary costs. We are getting back to our constituents, and we are bringing forward pragmatic solutions. We are telling the American people what we are committed to do to solving the ills that right now that they're facing as a direct result of policies that this administration has put in place.
Now, Claudia, I'm counting on you to cut spending, cut taxes, and cut regulations. I'm counting on you, and I'm counting on you to go back to energy independence.
Well, that's exactly what we did when I was in my first term with President Trump as president, and you there to guide us with economic policy. And that's why we saw so much growth. We saw cutting regulations, cutting taxes. Now we need to make the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act permanent. Believe it or not, that really helped a state like New York. So contrast to Representative Van Dyne's state, the free state of Texas, where many of these policies are already in place. This would be a tremendous boost to New York State, in spite of our one-party rule, our regressive policies in New York, our anti-energy policies. The federal government actually helped us through President Trump, through your policies, and when I was in the majority in my first term in Congress. So we have to go back to those policies. And this commitment to America is a roadmap for how we do that, how we get back to prosperity, energy independence, and making sure that the Americans that we're visiting and seeing in our districts. I just spent a whole day on a farm today, and boy, did I hear a lot about multiple problems that our farmers are facing, whether it's, triple the cost for energy, triple the cost for diesel, fertilizer. All these things are making it very difficult to feed the world. And if we don't have reliable energy that's affordable and that's cleaner from American sources with energy independence, we're going to potentially see a problem exporting these and seeing a food shortage around the world if we continue on these naive policies that the Democrats have in place in energy. And I point to none other than New York State with the highest outmigration, the highest taxes, the least free, in great contrast to Beth Van Dyne's great state of Texas. New York can be great again, but we need to implement those policies. And this is the plan. The commitment to America that Kevin McCarthy and the Republicans have put out will be the answer to bring some hope and prosperity back to upstate New York.
Yeah, listen, I think putting Lee Zeldin in the State House would be a big booster shot for the agenda you just described. Beth Van Duyne, let me come back to you. Also in here is a strong commitment to curb illegal immigration. You're down there in Texas on the border. Talk to us about that, because I also think that may not be the top 2 or 3 issues, but I still think it's a gigantic issue. With all the drug trafficking and fentanyl and so forth, I still think that's huge.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we've seen more fentanyl deaths, contributing to our death rate. It's the #1 death rate for adults under 45 in the U.S. right now. We're seeing thousands of pounds come over our borders illegally. We're seeing over 3 million people enter our country that we can actually tag that have entered our country illegally since the Biden administration took over. I hear Eric Adams in New York complain about the 1,000 illegal immigrants that has come into his city, a city of 8 million. You look at McAllen, Texas, a city of 140,000. They had 11,000 in 1 week. This is a major issue. And back when Obama was president, and when I was mayor of the city of Irving, we were seeing this. We were seeing the crime increase in our cities. We got a partnership with Immigration and Customs Enforcement that the Biden administration has stopped. They've cut. You can't deport criminals now that have come into your country illegally. You can't deport them. What we found when we did that in Irving was it became the 5th safest city in the country. All the tools that the Trump administration put in place that actually made orderly control at our border the Biden administration has systematically gotten rid of. They have just done it out of spite, and we've seen it. We've seen crime increase in all of our cities. Every city at this point is a border city. We need to get back to common sense. We need to hold Mexico accountable for helping us, since they're crossing into their country. And when Mike Pompeo was Secretary of State, that was a priority. For some reason, from day one, the Biden administration has had more or less an open border policy, and they won't even get down there and figure out how to solve it. And instead, they are in denial until it's at their front door and they can't deny it any longer. This is a plan with the commitment of America that we are going to give the resources to Customs and Border Protection that they need to be able to protect our borders, to be able to have normal immigration, because that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be processing people as opposed to acting like babysitters and taxi drivers.
Yeah.
We need to have that more than anything right now in Texas, as well as the rest of the country.
Claudia Tenney, also, I don't want to lose sight, stuck in here is a parent's Bill of Rights. The idea that parents should really have the run in their school system for their kids, and that parents are not domestic terrorists. That may not be in the, inflation crime importance, but I think that's a sleeper issue that's going to resound as long as you all push it well in the next month or so.
Absolutely, and that's something that's on the top of the agenda for Lee Zeldin as well, who's also in our conference and also completely subscribes to the commitment to America. Look, I'm a parent. I was a single parent. My son ended up doing great in public schools, but our public schools have changed. They've moved away and more towards the public unions and less towards choice. And we now know, it's been proven, that choice works. Giving parents a choice to decide where their children are going to learn, to make sure our curriculums are wholesome. They're learning the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic that we all learned when we were younger. And I think what's happened, the pandemic kind of opened everyone up to the reality of what is really going on in our schools. And I think that was a big awakening for parents across the country. And it's the reason that you saw Governor Glenn Youngkin come to play, because this issue became to the forefront. And, we had these issues in New York in the past with Common Core that we successfully fought off, with the one-party rule in Albany. But again, this is the kind of thing that even on the federal side, some of these common sense policies, if we could get them adopted, if we could allow the states to have their rights and the freedom and parents to have their freedom, you're going to see a more vibrant economy coming in the future. And I'm just hoping people see this and realize there is a clear choice for November. Vote for Republicans who are we're going to be committed to this, just as Newt Gingrich's team was committed to the Contract for America. We are committed to freedom, protecting individual rights, protecting our country. And I'm really excited about this. I think it's great. I've got great colleagues like Representative Van Duyne from Texas. She was a mayor. She's got great experience. We work together as the Iron Ladies. And we love what Liz Truss is doing, too, because, boy, wouldn't that be great if we could partner with Europe and have a partner that understands common sense energy policy, which is really what's going to help be the fulcrum of getting us out of the woes that we're experiencing and this energy crisis that we're experiencing that's affecting everyone across all sectors across the nation and the world.
Well, I think it's just interesting that the Liz Truss stuff comes up. It's a special relationship. They are our longtime allies. I know there was a wee bit of a disagreement back in the 18th century, but we share more in common than not. Beth Van Duyne, I'm going to give you the last word. Joe Biden will do almost anything. He's going to call us names, fascists, undermining democracy, domestic terrorists, blah, blah, blah. He'll do almost anything but talk about the key issues that are inside this commitment to America.
He doesn't want to talk about the key issues. He doesn't have a plan for the key issues. It seems like they're doing everything that they can to destroy and demonize American business, American energy, the American economy, American working families. The Republicans have come together. We have worked on a plan that is a commitment that we are going to address what those issues are. We're going to look at safety in our border, safety in our communities. We are going to look at accountability, holding our government officials accountable. Shocking. Is that really that radical? We're looking at respecting the freedoms and making sure that we are having a free future, which means not overtaxing and overburdening with regulation, our future performance. And it also means making sure that our economy is sound, because people want to have sustainability. In November, as we're moving forward, people have to understand this is not a game. When you've got Russia invading Ukraine and now threatening to use weapons of mass destruction, When you've got China, who is looking to be able to take over all of the mineral rights pretty much in every country that we are dependent on for our economy. When you have all of this unrest, when you've got Germany right now that is facing going into a winter without having energy production, without being able to actually have, heat, this is not a game. And Americans are living this reality every single day. The Biden administration seems to be in complete denial of it. But Republicans are coming up with a pragmatic, solution-filled plan that we are committing to Americans that we will address those issues if you get to the polls in November and support us. And I think that it's important to lay out what the party stands for and what we plan to do within that time that we're in the majority.
So let me get this right. On the same day, it's a good day, actually. We have the Magna Carta on one side of the pond, and we have the commitment to America on the other side of the pond. I like that. It's a good mix. And we have permanent tax cuts in between. Anyway, thank you very much, Claudia Tenney, Beth Van Duyne. You're terrific to help us out today. We appreciate it. Good luck on the